Who taught you that you needed someone else to feel whole? Think about that for a moment. Every time you waited for a text back, every time you needed permission to feel okay, every time your peace depended on someone else's mood, that was never strength. That was a wound, wearing the mask of love. Tonight, I will show you how to heal, not by leaning on others, but by becoming your own shelter. And by the end of this, you will understand something most people never learn in a lifetime. The only person who was ever meant to save you is the one reading these words. 1. The silent wound behind every attachment. Sit with me for a moment, not with your body. Your body is already still. Sit with me in your mind. I want you to remember the last time you felt truly at peace, not happy, not excited. Peace. Can you remember it? For many of you, that memory is old, faded, because somewhere along the way, peace stopped being something you carried inside you and became something you waited for someone else to give you. This is the wound I want to speak about today. Not a wound you can see, not a wound that bleeds, a silent wound, hidden so deep beneath years of habit that most people never even know it's there. It began small. A child reaches for comfort, and comfort does not come. A child speaks, and no one listens. A child feels afraid, and is told the fear is foolish. So the child learns something, not with words, but with the whole body, the whole nervous system. The child learns, my feelings are only real if someone else confirms them. This is how attachment is born. Not attachment in the way we usually speak of it, not love, not connection. I mean a different kind of attachment. The kind where your inner world depends entirely on the outer world to feel safe. Where your worth rises and falls with another person's attention. Look closely, and you will see this pattern everywhere. In the friend who cannot make a decision without asking 10 people first. In the partner who feels panic in silence and fills it with questions. In the successful man or woman who has everything the world admires, yet feels empty the moment they are alone in a quiet room. None of this is weakness. I want you to hear that clearly. This is not weakness, it is memory. Your body remembers a time when you were small, and your survival depended on someone else's care. That memory does not simply disappear because you grew older. It hides in the way you love, the way you work, the way you sit with silence. But here is what I have learned, both from the monastery and from decades of watching human beings suffer and heal. A wound that is understood loses much of its power. A wound that stays hidden in the dark only grows heavier. So I ask you again, gently this time, where does your peace come from? Does it come from within you? Or does it arrive only when someone else smiles at you, agrees with you, stays with you? If your honest answer troubles you, good. That discomfort is not your enemy. It is the beginning of your healing. Because the moment you can name the wound, you take the first step toward becoming its master instead of its servant. And that is not a small step. That is the difference between a life spent chasing others for wholeness and a life spent building wholeness from within. But naming the wound raises a harder question, one most people get wrong without even realizing it. 2. Why loneliness and independence are not the same. Here is where many people, when they hear heal without depending on anyone, misunderstand completely. They believe healing means isolation. They believe strength means needing no one, cutting off connection, building walls, standing alone on a mountain, untouched by the world. This is not wisdom. This is another form of fear wearing a stronger mask. Let me be very clear with you, loneliness and independence are not the same thing. They may look similar from the outside, both involve solitude, both involve time spent without others. But on the inside, they are opposites. Loneliness is solitude you did not choose. It is the ache of wanting connection and not having it. It whispers, something is missing, something is wrong with me. Loneliness closes the heart. It makes the world feel smaller, colder, less safe. Independence, true independence, the kind I am speaking of today, is different. It is solitude you have chosen, or at least accepted, because you no longer need another person to complete you. It says, I am whole, and connection with others is a gift I choose, not a hunger I cannot control. Independence opens the heart. It does not close it. This distinction matters more than almost anything else I will tell you today, because if you try to heal by simply pushing people away, by refusing help, by needing no one, by building a fortress around your heart, you have not healed. You have only hidden the wound deeper. You have traded one prison for another. True healing does not ask you to stop loving people. It does not ask you to stop needing connection. Because human beings are built for connection, this is not something to be ashamed of. What healing asks is different. It asks you to stop depending on that connection for your basic sense of safety and worth. It asks you to build that safety first within yourself, so that when connection comes, it comes as an addition to your life, not as the foundation holding it up. Think of it this way: a house needs a foundation before it can have walls, windows, a roof. If you try to build the roof first, hoping it will somehow hold up the house, the whole structure will collapse the moment the wind blows. Many of us have been building roofs without foundations. We have been trying to find safety in other people's love, other people's approval, other people's presence, before we have built any safety within ourselves. And then we wonder why the house keeps falling down every time someone leaves, every time someone disappoints us, every time we are left alone with our own thoughts. The foundation must come first, and the foundation is built in a place most people are terrified to go. 3. The discipline of sitting with yourself. In the monastery, before a student is taught anything of great importance, they are taught to sit. Simply sit, in silence, with nothing to distract them, no words, no music, no other person's voice to fill the space. For most people, this is far harder than it sounds. Give a person 5 minutes of true silence, alone with their own mind, and you will often see something remarkable: restlessness, discomfort, an urge to reach for the phone, to find noise, to find anything except the quiet. Why is silence so uncomfortable for so many? Because in silence, there is no one else to perform for, no one else to please, no one else's reaction to manage. In silence, you are left only with yourself. And if you have spent your whole life depending on others to tell you who you are, being left alone with yourself can feel like being left with a stranger. This is exactly why the discipline of sitting with yourself is not optional if you wish to heal. It is the entire practice. I do not mean this as a single event, done once and forgotten. I mean this as a returning, again and again, to your own presence. Sitting with your thoughts without rushing to fix them. Sitting with your emotions without rushing to explain them away. Sitting with your discomfort without reaching immediately for a phone, a friend, a distraction, to make the feeling disappear. This is difficult work. I will not pretend otherwise. The first time you sit with a painful memory instead of running from it, you may feel your chest tighten, your breath grow shallow. This is normal. This is the wound finally being witnessed instead of avoided. But something begins to shift the longer you practice this. You begin to notice that your emotions, even the painful ones, do not destroy you. They rise, they peak, and if you do not fight them, they pass, like weather moving across the sky. You begin to trust that you can survive your own inner world without needing someone else to rescue you from it. This trust is the beginning of everything. Because once you know, from direct experience, that you can sit with your own pain and survive it, you no longer need to outsource that survival to another person. You no longer need someone else's constant reassurance to feel safe, because you have proven to yourself, not with words but with lived experience, that you are safe. I want to offer you something practical here, something you can begin today. Each day, give yourself even 10 minutes of true silence. No phone, no music, no book, just you, your breath, and whatever thoughts or feelings arise. Do not try to control them. Simply notice them, the way you would notice clouds passing overhead. At first, this will feel strange, even uncomfortable. Stay with it anyway. This discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that you are finally meeting yourself, perhaps for the first time in years. Over time, this simple practice rebuilds something essential: your relationship with your own presence. And once that relationship is strong, everything else in your life begins to change. Your relationships with others become lighter, because you no longer need them to hold the full weight of your emotional survival. Your decisions become clearer, because you are no longer making them from fear of being alone. Your sense of worth becomes steadier, because it is no longer borrowed from someone else's opinion of you. This is not a fast process. I will not insult you by pretending otherwise. But it is a real one. And every single person who has ever learned to sit quietly with themselves, without fleeing, without needing rescue, has discovered the same truth waiting on the other side of that discomfort, a strength that was there the entire time, simply buried beneath the noise. That strength is still there in you now. even if you cannot feel it yet. And what comes next will show you exactly how to reach it, and what happens to a mind once it finally stops searching outside itself for what it has carried within all along. 4. Turning pain into a teacher, not a prison. There is a question I want to ask you now, and I want you to answer it honestly, even if only in the privacy of your own mind. What have you done with your pain? Most people do one of two things. They bury it, pushing it down so deep that they forget it is even there, until it surfaces uninvited, in anger, in sickness, in relationships that inexplicably fall apart. Or they build a home around it. They let the pain define them, repeat itself, become the story they tell about who they are and what they deserve. Both paths lead to the same place, a prison. A prison built not of stone, but of memory. And like any prisoner, you begin to believe the walls are simply the shape of the world, rather than something you have the power to walk beyond. But there is a third path, one that few are shown, and fewer still are willing to walk. This path does not ask you to bury your pain, and it does not ask you to be ruled by it. It asks you to turn toward it and learn from it. I know this may sound strange. How can suffering teach anything of value? Let me explain what I mean, because this is not empty comfort. This is something I have watched happen again and again in the lives of people who chose to face what hurt them instead of hiding from it. Pain, when avoided, repeats itself. It finds new situations, new people, new disguises, to teach you the same lesson you refused to learn the first time. To the same wound. But pain, when faced honestly, becomes information. It shows you exactly where you are unhealed. It shows you exactly what you still need to understand about yourself. Consider the person who was betrayed and spends years afraid to trust again. If they bury this pain, they will likely either avoid closeness altogether or attract more betrayal, unconsciously recreating what is familiar. But if they turn toward the pain, if they ask honestly, what did this experience reveal to me about my own boundaries, my own worth, my own ability to see truth in others? Something changes. The pain stops being only a wound, it becomes a teacher. It becomes wisdom they carry forward, wisdom that protects them, wisdom that makes them not bitter but discerning. This is the difference between a scar and an open wound. An open wound still controls you. It is tender, reactive, easily reopened. A scar has closed. It may still be visible. It may still be part of your story, but it no longer bleeds. It no longer decides your next move. You transform pain into wisdom not by pretending it did not hurt, but by asking what it came to show you. This single shift, from why did this happen to me to what is this here to teach me, is one of the most powerful movements a human mind can make. It does not deny the injustice of suffering, it simply refuses to let suffering be wasted. And once you begin walking this path, something else becomes possible, something that until now may have felt entirely out of reach. 5. Rebuilding trust with your own mind. I want to speak now about a kind of trust that is rarely discussed, yet it may be the most important trust of all, the trust you have or do not have in your own mind. Think about how often you doubt yourself, how often you make a decision and immediately begin to question it, how often you feel something clearly and then talk yourself out of it because someone else disagreed, how often you know in your quietest moment what is right for you and still choose otherwise, because trusting yourself feels too uncertain, too risky. This is what happens when the relationship between you and your own mind has been broken. And for many people, it was broken a long time ago, by criticism that taught you your judgment could not be trusted, by environments where your feelings were dismissed, by years of being told, directly or indirectly, that others knew better than you what you needed. Healing without depending on others requires rebuilding this broken trust. Not the trust that says you will never make mistakes. Every human being makes mistakes. This is simply part of living. I mean a deeper trust. The trust that says, even when I am wrong, I can rely on myself to learn, to adjust, to keep moving forward without falling apart. How is this trust rebuilt? Slowly, through small, honest actions repeated over time. Every time you make a decision, keep it and follow through. You send a quiet message to yourself, I can rely on me. Every time you feel something and honor it, instead of talking yourself out of it to please someone else, you strengthen that same message. Every time you fail and choose to stay rather than abandon yourself in shame, you prove to your own mind that you are safe to be inside of. This is not something that happens through a single decision or a single day of effort. It happens the way trust always happens between two people, through consistency, through small promises kept, through showing up for yourself again and again, until your mind believes, not because you said so, but because you demonstrated it, that you are someone worth trusting. And here is what becomes possible once this trust is rebuilt. You stop needing others to constantly validate your choices because you trust your own judgment. You stop needing others to manage your emotions because you trust your own capacity to feel and recover. You stop needing others to tell you who you are because you have already come to know yourself, not through their eyes, but through your own direct experience. This is not arrogance. This is not the false confidence of someone who refuses to listen to others. It is something quieter and far more stable. It is the calm of a person who no longer needs to be constantly reassured because they have already found solid ground within themselves. And on that solid ground, something extraordinary becomes possible. 6. Becoming the home you were always searching for. For most of your life, perhaps, you have been searching for a place to belong, a person who would finally make you feel safe, a relationship, a community, a version of success that would finally quiet the restlessness inside you. There is nothing wrong with wanting belonging. Human beings are built for connection, and this desire is not a flaw to be corrected. But I want to offer you a different way of understanding where true belonging begins. It does not begin outside of you, it begins within you. Every person you have ever searched for to make you feel whole, the perfect partner, the perfect friend, the perfect family, was in truth a reflection of something you were trying to find in yourself. Safety, acceptance, unconditional presence. These things exist first as a possibility within your own mind, before they can ever be fully received from another. This is why even the most loving relationships cannot heal a person who has not yet begun to build a home within themselves. Love from others can support you, comfort you, walk beside you, but it cannot replace the foundation only you can build. If you are constantly searching outside yourself for what only you can give yourself, you will remain hungry no matter how much love surrounds you. But when you begin to build that home within, through the discipline of sitting with yourself, through facing your pain honestly, through rebuilding trust with your own mind, everything shifts. You no longer walk through life searching. You walk through life offering. Your relationships become an extension of your wholeness, not a rescue from your emptiness. Your presence becomes steady, not because nothing ever hurts you again, but because you no longer collapse when it does. This is the quiet transformation available to every person listening to these words right now, not a dramatic overnight change, a slow, steady returning to yourself again and again until the returning becomes home. You were never meant to be rescued by another person. You were meant to become for yourself the safety you always searched for elsewhere, the stillness you longed for in someone else's presence. You can build that stillness within your own. The unconditional acceptance you hoped another person would give you. You can begin today to give that to yourself. This is not the end of connection with others. It is the beginning of connection that no longer comes from lack but from wholeness. And that kind of connection, chosen freely, not desperately needed, is the only kind that ever truly lasts. You already carry within you everything required to heal. Not someday when the right person arrives, not later when circumstances change. Now, in this quiet moment, exactly as you are. The home you have been searching for was never far away. It was waiting patiently for you to stop looking outward long enough to notice it was already yours.